So let's talk about your interest in acting in one of my projects.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, I was
Why
like,
you?
oh, I see. Okay. Mm.
um, yeah, I checked out some of your work on YouTube. I mentioned that one of your actresses in your past web series was someone I had worked with in the past, recently out of college. Um, I like your
She was
whole.
nice to you.
Yeah, she was super nice.
Okay.
Paige was a nice girl. Um, yeah, I like the whole kind of philosophy that you've just been talking about of, if you're not finding the work, you have to make the work for yourself. And I think it's cool that, you went from being an actor to now being a web series. I guess you didn't write the web series, you were directing, producing it.
I didn't want to direct it either. The with the direction, the idea is that if you want something to look like a certain way, and in my case, I always try to watch the studio productions, right? And the indie world or the artistic community that comes out of theatrical school, they make short films and all that. They have a slight different idea of acting or filmmaking. For example, the heightened acting is something television doesn't use to the point where indie projects would use. Because indie projects, everybody's coming from every school you go to, even if they have intro to camera acting or whatever, it's still a theatrical school.
Yeah.
And you really get to learn the eye movement, body movement on camera, pacing, because there's no room for you to learn as an actor that the editor has to add a reaction shot. The director wants to move from a wide shot to a close up, etc., etc. And that requires a particular kind of pacing. It's not a stage play you came and did, and rush, rush, rush. Because acting teachers, every acting teacher will say, speed up, speed up, speed up. And you go, and this is a challenge. All acting teachers are respectful to me. And all, like I've been to, I don't know, bazillion schools. And every school I went to, I was told that, oh, speed up, right? Okay, great. You go and watch John Wick's new movie's trailer or any multi-million dollar studio produced film. They talk so slow. There's a reason film acting requires different kind of vocal cord, eye movement. They are talking like a tired or whatever guy, right? That's the movie world. Now, if you bring like everything, it's not gonna look like a movie. It's gonna look like a movie made by someone who went to school in Manhattan and lives in Bushwick, which is great. It's nothing wrong. Same with these stylists. Like when I watch a trailer or a reel, actor's reel, you can get an idea that it's a what kind of movie. The color grading, right?
Right.
Color grading, editing, shots, all that stuff. So I was having this artistic conflict internally with people I asked to direct. And then I was like, okay, I asked them and I pay them. And then there was maybe lack of, I don't know what term is knowledge or something. I still remember there was a short film and in the script, the phrase was white privilege, right? The female I asked to direct went to Pace. She had a BFF from Pace. Lived in Harlem with her boyfriend, which is very diverse. Of course, she was from a wealthy, privileged background in New Jersey, but she did not know what that was, and she revised it, assuming I don't even remember. And I, as a personality, my personality is on a set or in like table read or whatever. Previously, we used to do all that stuff. I don't say anything because I was like, okay, I made her the director. She is the boss.
Right.
But internally, I wasn't satisfied. Same thing with when they would say, oh, yeah, that's not funny. Make it more funny. Make it stupid like this. And So there was like
Make
internal
it,
dissatisfaction.
yeah, make it more funny is not good direction. You're the director and you need to tell them how to make it more funny. Like, you see the vision, so
Sure,
what is
yeah,
going to make it more funny? If
but
you want the scene to be more funny, if that's what you want, if you have a vision, you're going to see what needs to be changed so that you get the laugh. But if you just tell the actor who's just acting, they're not watching themselves, yeah, like, just be funnier. What does that mean? That could mean a million different things, and there's a million different choices there to make it more funny. And depending on what you want, you have to direct that.
mhm.
I
And you're right, like because the concept of funny, like if you say, "Oh, Bond has a funny scene,"
hmm
that's a total different thing than in a short film we'll make here somewhere a funny scene, right? And yeah, it's same about the. I think that was the biggest struggle I had.
like the sitcom you just did. That is a very specific kind of comedy. That is sitcom comedy. It's very different than kind of sketch comedy. This type of I think you should leave or Auntie Donna type of funny. I mean, people that think one thing is funny might not think the
Mm,
other is funny. I just did a short, um, and it's kind of ridiculous humor. Like, my boyfriend's coming over for dinner, and I'm nervous because he's gonna meet my dad, and then my boyfriend arrives, and he's like dressed as a clown, and that's the joke, and that's the bit, and he's a clown, and like he's trying to pretend he's not a clown, and so it's this very specific kind of humor, and that humor is not going to read to everybody, especially maybe to somebody who likes more
mhm,
like The Office or
mhm.
Parks and Rec. They're like, what is this?
Right.
This is silly comedy. But somebody else, they'll be like, that. Now that is like actual comedy. That is what comedy should be. That is funny. So yeah, and I think it's fun. As an actor, I always kind of considered myself a more dramatic actor. I have a lot of friends who are like comedians,
Mm.
self-proclaimed comedians. They consider themselves comedians first, and that's what they're good at. They're good at improv, they're good at writing comedy, they're good at performing comedy. I think I can do comedy, but I've never felt like that was my forte. But I think part of the journey too is learning, okay, you know what? If you are like a really good actor, you are a really good director or writer, whatever it is, like, you should be able to do a little bit of all of it. And
Or had the understanding of making that switch.
mhm. And it is a switch. It's like it's not always all about making the most truthful choice, right? If you're working on a project that has a specific style, he's sometimes the choice I was gonna say quizás. That was my Spanish coming out. Sometimes the choice, like the best choice to make, is not the most realistic choice, the choice that's based in realism, because you're doing this kind of stylistic weird thing, and they want something a little different and a little more out there and innovative. And I think your job is to also know how to switch between those things, and not just say, okay, well, this is film, so I have to like not move my face and just be like very serious.
And you face, and that's the thing. We run into these assumptions that oh, it's a movie, so you don't have to move,
Like,
or
my
it's a
eyebrows should not
movie.
move.
Yeah,
Like,
or it's a movie. Then you can't really talk loud.
yeah.
It's nothing about that. It's about first of all a character's presence, and then the director will tell you what if the director wants something like your speech, like The Wolf of Wall Street. The director wants your speeches in a wide shot.
hmm
So what? Then would you say, I don't think we should do that in the movie, or you think I shouldn't? I don't think I should do warm ups anymore because
hmm
I'm gonna do a movie. They know people who are making their movie what they want. The question is, again using the same term, switch, are you able to make that switch? And the director say, okay, tone it up. And depending what director, if it's a multi-million dollars, ask the 80, I tell them to switch it up a little bit. So, and if you'll say the director is crazy because it's a movie, who does that
Right.
like that? So then I think there's a problem there, right?
Mm.
And yeah, Because here you are not playing with your idea that okay, people in the balcony up there they can hear me or not. Because over there you assess your audience on
Hmm.
stage. On film, the director, for example, don't even remember these minor things that we think about on the shoot because we know the editor will ask this or the sound guy will ask this. We can't share everything with the talent. Otherwise, you can't make a movie. It will be like a whole MFA 3 years course if everything must be explained. Colors or the light. And sometimes I think in my position, it's very common for talent to say, yeah, I was in such and such. I was in the zombie movie and they did this. Why don't you do that? Okay, great. I mean, I have
Like,
no
that's
clue
not my
what kind of zombie movie
style.
because a lot of I think people make horror movies
Yeah, the
and
biggest cat deal. I think 90% of the casting calls I see nowadays are either a horror short or psychological thriller. Like these are the two
yeah,
genres that
right.
are very popular
I
amongst
don't know
the
if I
young
should say on camera
independent.
why,
Yeah.
but see, that's the thing that the tone and acting and or a lot of times people don't understand. If you memorize your scene so excellently, I can't break it down. I can't change your tone, right?
Mm,
You have line reading. Then the other thing is in film on camera, especially a taste project, unless like we are talking right now, we are thinking and talking. Our emotions will go up and down.
mm,
We feel tired, exhausted. We feel a little uncomfortable. Oh my God, I should have said this. So those things make us a real human being.
mm-hmm.
If you and I know the lines and we are talking like robots, I don't think that'll be engaging. It will also, the music guy will suffer. Where to add music? They're not taking a pause or beat, or they're not going in the thinking mode, right? How to get to a different angle of the camera. But I think I have run into those situations too because people who are novice actors, uh, amateurs, their idea is that, oh my God, I memorize my lines, I know my lines, I know my character. What's wrong with you? You were the one who doesn't know anything, right? And again, they are not ready or willing to listen. Because unless you listen, you can't develop an understanding. Unless you develop an understanding, you can't develop a greater awareness. Unless you develop a greater awareness, you can't have a collegial or harmonious relationship, whether it's your co-star, director, actor, romantic relationship, or a business relationship.
I think I remember, or I'll first say, I think it's good to come in with like choices, whether it's an audition or a rehearsal, whatever it is. Like as an actor, you should come in with kind of some choices, some ideas that you have, a certain way you want to deliver a line, a certain, thing you want to get from the other person, whatever it is. But you also need to be willing to have all of that
Mhm.
like torn apart and for the person to say, oh, hey, by the way, you played that, very soft. Actually, this character is like very kind of aggressive, strong-willed. So I need you to kind of switch that. Like she needs to be way more forceful and not kind of soft-spoken. And it's like if you have it so ingrained that no, like I deliver these lines in a soft-spoken, sheepish sort of way, and I don't really make eye contact or whatever, it's going to be really hard to break that. And I remember in our first kind of Zoom call, um, you threw some like different ideas at me, and you said, even if yeah, I'm not saying that this is the choice that will be made for this character, I'm just seeing if I can give you a choice or a
I don't
direction.
remember. Okay.
Yeah, that I give you a direction and that you can take it. I mean, the most important thing is that you are able to take a direction, whether or not it's the direction that we are going with the character. And
It's the reason is it happened maybe twice at a greater scale, like a real fight on set, same series, and talent says, "I don't read the scene that way." The And I had to politely say, look, before this we have filmed 40 episodes. Now you are in this season. I have been working with the writer since day one. So there's the whole arc of the show. And then there's an arc of the character and the way character relates and bounces off of the other character. So give me some sort of I don't know how I said it, but the idea is here you come and you just like given these few and you don't and a lot of times like in this series happen. And the same thing happens at the commercial series, like the big budget or network shows. And I learned that from a lot of people who have been on those shows. They don't know how the character will continue. But right now, we know where the character is. So your ideas, whatever choices, idea of the character is, should be based on what has been given to you. And if you want to bring in something because you went to whatever conservatory, that is irrelevant. And I think that's where it becomes a little challenging. A lot of people develop that weird arrogance. Oh, I spent 3 years in this conservatory and my teacher was the best. And great. I'm not saying the teacher is not great, but the teacher hasn't written this. The teacher is not directing it. The teacher has no clue of the story. And again, I have seen there might be two different teachers teaching the same course at an acting school very differently because they have a different idea of the same subject matter. Even like Meisner, living truthfully, you mentioned Meisner. I studied Meisner at NYU Tisch. I studied Meisner, its form at Atlantic. I studied Meisner at New York Film Academy. I might have studied elsewhere too, I don't remember. But everyone understands Meisner differently. Even their repetition is slightly different. Some say, yeah, don't make it into a question. That's wrong. Some say, I mean, who cares? When you are making a project, the simple thing is, can you live truthfully under imaginary circumstances? Who cares about those nuances? Whatever school you were trained in, they all are great as long as you got those tools and are willing to put them to practice.
I I remember I experienced that a lot in college, in a kind of weird way where I had all of these scene study teachers. So, like this class scene study where we just go in, we get scenes every few weeks, we workshop them, we work on them, and then yeah, we move on to the next one. Kind of the main acting class of the program. And I had just a lot of teachers who had a different idea of kind of the preparation work that we should be doing to prepare for the scene and like what was going to be useful for us or not. And I was grateful to learn all of these tools and have these different perspectives, but at the same time it's sometimes like well, I think you really need to write out your characters like 8 primary strengths and 8 primary weaknesses. Okay, but in my other class that's not necessary and I feel like I'm doing better work there than I am doing with you. So it's like in the other class I don't write out all of my character strengths and weaknesses, but I do a whole lot of other preparation stuff, and that gets a good performance out of me. And now I have to come to this class and I'm doing these other things that you're telling me I have to do, but at the end of the day, I do the scene and I don't think I've done it very well because I'm using the tools you're telling me I have to use, but what I really want to do is do a good performance. I want to like inhabit this character well. I want to have a dynamic scene and what you're so it's tricky. You need to be receptive and you need to be versatile. And in the case of a director, you need to take on what your director is telling you to do. But when it's like a teacher and they're telling you, well, this is what you need to do to like get to the emotional place, and you do what they tell you, but you don't feel any emotions. It's like, yeah. Okay, well, can I do the other thing that the other guy told me because that made me feel something. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think teaching and directing like very different things. Like the teacher is telling you the tools, and then the director's just giving you kind of what you need to play. But as an actor, you can take whatever tools you need to play what is being directed to you, and you need to understand kind of your role too. I mean, I think it's a collaborative experience. I think it's good to be like, hey, well, I had this idea, something new can be born from that sort of collaboration. Like, oh, well, this actor brought in something and it's not the idea that I had, but wow, I just saw that and that worked really well and we're going to go with that. Um but you also, if you're the one performing, you have to be receptive to the possibility that they're going to say no, actually, like
Hmm.
that's not the direction we're going with
Right.
this.
Yeah.
And
Which is okay.
yeah, and it's not saying what you've done is bad. It's
Yes,
saying,
exactly.
like you're saying with the arc, actually what you're doing isn't serving the whole story. You're just looking at your little scene and your lines and your character, but actually we're trying to tell like this bigger story. You go in for like your little co-star audition as the waitress and you make all these big choices. It's like, okay, well, you're a good actor, but you're just playing the waitress. Like you're not the star of this episode. We wanted somebody to come in and say, "Okay, here's your glasses, enjoy your meal," and walk away. Like we didn't want somebody to make this big funny choice because that's not what the episode
Right.
is about.
Or the whole genre. Like sometimes actors would do things where the whole genre becomes questionable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in a way it's not helping the production, it's a damage.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a set tone of the movie and you only have say 4 minutes of screen presence in 120 minutes, right? So your job is to help the production, not to make it look like a confused genre,
Yeah,
right?
or
Yeah.
to like try to steal the show and
Yeah.
have your 3 minutes of fame. It's like, actually, you're
Most
here.
likely they're gonna cut it out
Yeah.
and refilm it.
Yeah.
I've done this several times, so don't worry about it. Your show, then you're not even in it. So basically, you are uh, doing a damage to yourself too as a talent if you won't be in it.
Yeah, I think I've heard it happening too. That you get your big break, and then actually, someone was telling me the other day about this podcast where this guy, got his he got cast in this, I think, Tom Hanks movie.
Mhm.
And he's offered the role and he's so excited, and then Tom Hanks goes and like watches the tape and takes the role like back away from him and says, actually no, like you had really dead eyes, and I don't want you in my movie. And this guy has to, he has to
Face to
deal with
face, he
that.
said that.
And then he made a podcast about it.
Well, I mean, he made something out of it.
Yeah. And I think the podcast was kind of successful. So.
Oh, wow. Okay, great. Sympathy card. So, what is it that you are looking forward to being accomplished if you're in my project?
Why are you laughing?
Because I don't even know, like accomplished.
Yeah.
Because the person you can say, I mean, I'm comfortable with you. You can say like, I don't know if I was thinking of accomplished. I was thinking of helping you to make your project look better, Franklin.
Yeah, I'm here to be the star of your show.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I think one thing you had asked at the end of our first audition was like, oh, well, watch my stuff, look at my style, make sure it's like something you like. I like bigger colors and things like this. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, I might have kind of my preferences of the style or the genre that I like to do, but that doesn't mean I'm ever going to say, well, no to that style or no to that genre, because that's not what I excel in. This last weekend I did 2 comedy shoots and I don't consider myself like a comedian. And that made me realize, okay, maybe I should stop saying I'm not a comedian, because I just got cast in 2 comedy shoots that I didn't beg them to cast me in. So that means they saw something in me to like bring this to life. Um, and I think, working with you a bit and seeing like how you work and how you take time to really get out the performance that you want, that's something I appreciated, because I've done a lot of projects and I see the final product and I'm like, damn, why didn't like the director tell me I was doing like this weird thing, or like that my hair was flying?
Maybe the director was scared of you.
Yeah, like
no.
Or that choice I made was weird. Like I would have I would have much preferred them to send me a final cut back that I can look at and say, okay, I'm proud of what I did there. And now this is something I can showcase and that's going to help me get jobs. I'm like, damn, well, it looks really good, but I guess they weren't really paying attention to what
But you
I was
can
doing.
look. You can start a podcast.
Yeah,
They say, why didn't the director tell me I was doing like this? And then see,
like that
there'll be a
behind
lot
the
of people,
switch.
a lot of people who'll join you and say, see, I had the same problem.
So, yeah, I think it should be, you know, if we work on it together, I'm like excited to get out a good performance because that's ultimately what I want, you know? I don't want to just be whipping out all these performances and then to look back on it and say, oh, that could have been so much better.
Mm.
Why did nobody tell me I needed to make a different choice there? Or like I sped through that.
Or a little bit of warm up, or like to get in the moment.
Yeah. And I think, it's the character, someone I can kind of relate to, as we touched on earlier.
Oh yeah, people don't
Um,
know about that.
so,
Oh wait. So something. The reason I said warm up, I saw people, uh, which really, I mean, I didn't like it. I wasn't able to say anything. That when camera angles are changed or something, and they would be just applying for other roles,
mhm.
and then they'll run and act. No, they think they can make that switch, but when you see in the camera monitor and all, you can tell in particular the previous shot they were different because everything affects us humanly. So you're looking at a job, it's going to pay only like okay, $50, and your mood is different. Oh my God, 2000. So between those takes, you are a total different character. You think you are the same because you know your lines, but your presence, your reality changes. So now I think I've become a bit more strict, and I would just give everything in writing, like no cell phone until this thing, no food. Because of course, like I mean, I eat a sandwich after that, I'll be like this. So things change, especially if you're doing a scene. It's a long scene, and you are changing you swapping the lens depending what equipment. These days you don't have to do that, but you will be so different in that 8 minute scene when you're watching the final cut.
Mm.
You can tell, the smart people can tell that why does he look different here? There's something different. I can't tell. The voice you drink, let's say you drink Coke or Pepsi or whatever, your voice will change. So if in one take, one camera angle, you did not drink a carbonated drink and then you later on did, I have experienced these on myself.
Mm.
You will sound different. That means that you are changing the character. So when the stakes are high, you gotta be careful. Okay, if you hydration did that, take a break. No, don't eat anything or do that until you're done with that scene, because it's more like being respectful of that character, that moment, that script.
Mm.
And it's not that I learned these things in school or whatever. It's just like by doing again and again, I learn. We're still learning. As I said earlier, I don't consider myself an expert. There's always a new thing I learn, and still learning. So yeah, hopefully something good will come out of it.
That is always the goal, isn't
Great.
it?
All right.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, she's so excited to say bye. All right. So, Hannah, thank you for coming on this show and watch her on a bigger screen. Bigger screen could be your television screen, and bigger screen could be the premiere. These days, the big screen means anything that's bigger than your phone.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Thank you for your time again.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
we say ciao. How do you say bye in Spanish?
Yeah, you can say ciao.
Ciao. Okay.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Hasta luego.